A book that I got 100% solely based on the cover. I was scrolling on Instagram, saw this book, looked it up, it's in order, not even knowing anything about the book, ordered it, received it. Unfortunately, I think this is gonna make an appearance in every single video I film because I can't stop drinking out of it. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're doing a little reading update. I'm also doing a miniature book haul. The unfortunate news is that I had to re-record this because my last recording was not in focus at all, and I also spent some time editing it because I thought it was enough in focus that it was tolerable to watch, but really it was so annoying to watch, and even I was having a terrible time editing, which is something I usually enjoy doing. It was too bad, and I couldn't post that cancerous piece of material onto the internet and have you guys watch it thinking you were getting something interesting when you were getting just a blob of a person chatting about books. So let's get into the books and my mini book haul. Starting off the video strong with a book that I finished last week. This is the most recent book that I finished, and it's a book that's been on my shelf for, well, it's been on my shelf since October, and I kept putting off reading it because it was one of those ones that I knew I was going to like, so I was just scared that, I don't know, I just didn't want it to be over, you know? And that is Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I'm so happy I read this. I feel like most of the books that I have on my physical TBR are here for a reason, and I really just need to read them because every time I actually read a book off my shelf, I am shocked by how much I love it. And this was one of those books, and I think this is the perfect book to read if you're just feeling lost in your mid to late 20s, even in your 40s, because in this book, Cleo is 25 and Frank is 45. So we have that age gap dynamic, and also it's just so interesting to see how both of their lives are honestly in a similar state of disarray at their different ages, and it felt good to read about people whose lives aren't completely put together when your life feels a little bit rocky. That's a great book for that reason. Also, while there are really heavy topics touched on in this book, once you get to the end, it's not going to leave you feeling super gross and just sad and upset about life. It honestly made me feel happy once I got to the end, and I thought it was a very beautiful story. I loved the writing, I loved the dynamics between all of the characters, because not only do we get Cleo's perspective and Frank's, but we also get to go into the heads of multiple friends in their friend group. It's set in New York, which is fun, and the characters were just so vibrant, and I found myself loving Cleo even though she's somewhat problematic, and I feel like if I had a daughter, I would want to name her Cleo because this character was just so vibrant. And not that I would want my daughter to be exactly like Cleo, but I would just want her, you know, I won't say too much. I just loved how Cleo jumped off the page. My image of her, I just love that so much, and so I really like the name Cleo now. Not that I would want my child to become like Cleo. Regardless, I do not have a daughter that I will be naming Cleo, so moving on. I highly, highly recommend this book. It's definitely 5 stars for me. I have no idea if Coco Malores has written any other books or if she's planning on writing any other books, but I definitely want to read more of her writing because I thought this was very well done. And while I didn't feel extremely attached to all of the characters in this book, I was still very much attached to them. I would have been more attached if we didn't get so many perspectives, but at the same time I really loved how many perspectives we got and how we got to see how Cleo and Frank's relationship sort of has a butterfly effect on their friends and family, and just how the things we do impact the people around us. I thought it was a beautiful story, and if I do read this again, I want to annotate it because I didn't annotate it this round, and I think there are so many good quotes and just things that will stick out to me once I go through it again that I didn't pick up on the first read. Moving right along, I have a book from the library that is definitely overdue, and I need to take it back to the library today, but I wanted to film this before I took it back. And that is I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. You guys know, if you saw my other video, that I love The Great Believers by her, and this book just came out in February. And so immediately I had to read it. I wasn't expecting it to be sort of a whodunit type of book. Initially, when I started reading it, I was in love with the writing, I was in love with the story, I was very invested in the characters. I really wanted to know who did it. For some context, we're following our main character, who is a true crime podcaster. She goes back to her old boarding school where there was a murder that happened to teach film and podcasting to her students, and then she kind of is almost obsessed with the murder that happened because the girl who was murdered was her roommate, and so she's sort of obsessed with figuring out the truth of it because she doesn't think the person who was convicted was actually convicted. And it's just the story of her and her student investigating this murder and then figuring out that somebody else did it. It has a lot to say. I feel like there are a lot of things brought up in this book, and I really, really appreciate and enjoy what she was trying to do with it because it really does get you thinking and it poses a lot of questions. But I just feel like we don't get as many answers, and as far as the whodunit portion of the book, I feel like the payoff just wasn't great, so it felt like it was trying to do a ton of stuff, but by the end of it, I just didn't feel satisfied with it. This is like a 3.75 to 4 stars for me. I did really enjoy it, just the ending. It just, I don't know, it was really missing something. Maybe that's what it was supposed to do. It was just supposed to bring up a bunch of questions and get us thinking and kind of just leave us in the dust. Maybe that was the point of this book, but I'm really curious to know what you guys thought of this book, if you've read it, if you're planning on reading it, if you like Rebecca Makkai, or if you guys have read The Great Believers or any of her other books. Let me know, because I really do enjoy her writing and I will be reading more of her, but this one it wasn't my favorite, I'm not gonna lie. That's it for the reading update portion of this video, and now I want to show you guys a little mini book haul. These are books that I recently acquired within like the last month or so. One of which is a book of the month book pick. I'm actually really interested to read it. I'll read you guys the little synopsis. 2019, under cover of darkness, Kate flees London for ramshackle Wayward cottage, inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. With its tumbling ivy and overgrown garden, the cottage is whirls away from the abusive partner who tormented Kate. But she soon suspects that her great aunt had a secret, one that lurks in the bones of the cottage, hidden ever since the witch hunts of the 17th century. Okay, that first little snippet really intrigued me, and then the next paragraph says 1619, Altha is awaiting trial for the murder of a local farmer who was stampeded to death by his herd. When Altha was a girl, her mother taught her their magic, a kind not rooted in spellcasting but in deep knowledge of the natural world. But unusual women have always been deemed dangerous, and as the evidence of witchcraft is laid out against Altha, she knows it will take all of her powers to maintain her freedom. 1942. As World War II rages, Violet is trapped in her family's grand, crumbling estate. Straitjacketed by societal convention, she longs for the robust education her brother receives, for her mother, long deceased, who was rumored to have gone mad before her death. The only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W and the word Wayward scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. Weaving together the stories of 3 extraordinary women across 5 centuries, Wayward is an astonishing debut in an enthralling novel of female resilience. So it's about 3 women from 3 different time periods, all going through similar experiences. I really love how this sounds, and I hope it lives up to the little synopsis we just got. Let me know if you guys have read this in the comments and what you thought about it. Next up, we have a book that I bought solely based on the cover, The Ice Palace by an author whose name I will not be attempting to pronounce. I got this book because I love the cover. It's also only like 130 pages, so it's gonna be a very quick read. I don't know if you guys can see the cover, but it's gorgeous. It's also by a Norwegian author, and I'm going to Norway in the summer, so I thought this would be a fun way to experience Norway before I actually go by reading some Norwegian literature. And yes, it is also set in Norway. And the author photo on the back, he is photographed with his cat, and that is just something that I adore. I will read you the blurb on the back of this one too. I always stumble over it. We need to sit. School children call it the Ice Palace, a frozen waterfall in the Norwegian fjords, transformed into a fantastic structure of translucent walls, sparkling towers, and secret chambers. It fascinates 2 young girls, Lonely Yoon and Lively Sis, who strike up an intense friendship. When Yoon decides to explore the Ice Palace alone and doesn't return, Sis must try to cope with the loss of her friend without succumbing to a frozen world of her own making. I'm really intrigued. I hope this is good, but regardless, it's a beautiful cover. And last, but certainly not least, a book that I got, again, 100% solely based on the cover. I was scrolling on Instagram, saw this book, looked it up, realized that the United States cover is not the same as this cover. I wanted the UK cover, went on the book depository, placed an order, not even knowing anything about the book other than the cover and the title. Ordered it, received it, realized it's a YA fantasy, realized I never read YA fantasy, decided to read it anyway. And I've been reading it, and I'm not gonna give you any updates on that portion of it because you'll see that in my reading vlog. And that is 6 Crimson Cranes. Let's take a moment for the cover. It is gorgeous. I saw it for 1 second on Instagram, immediately purchased it. This is my all-time favorite cover. I will read you guys the back and try not to let you guys know what I think of the actual book to encourage you to watch my vlog where I read this book. So, Princess Shiori Onma has a secret. Forbidden magic runs in her veins. Until she loses control on the morning of her unwanted betrothal and is discovered by her stepmother, Urikama. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing these names right, so, you know. Sorcerer in her own right, Urikama banishes Shiori, transforming her brothers into cranes and warning her that she must speak of it to no one, for with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. But as Shiori searches for her brother, she uncovers a dark conspiracy to seize the throne. To save her kingdom, she must place her trust in a paper bird, a mercurial dragon, and the boy she fought so hard not to marry. She must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs. This book has the best book smell. So if you were looking for a book to buy solely based on a beautiful cover and a great smell, I highly recommend this. I will let you know what I think of it in my reading vlog. That is it. Oh my god, cat hair. That is it for the reading update in the book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys in my vlog or my next video. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment letting me know how you guys are and what you're reading. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you when I see you.